On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
That was the moment that US Vice President J.D. Vance used his deciding vote to break a tie in the US Senate over the big, beautiful bill. After 24 hours of sometimes furious debate, US President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act came one step closer to becoming law and granting huge tax cuts to the value of $4.5 trillion to America's wealthiest individuals and corporations. The bill also imposes restrictions on Medicaid, the federal insurance program that grants healthcare to millions of the US's poorest, while cutting funding to other healthcare and nutrition programs. But there were giveaways too. Child tax credit is extended to 40 million families, and low-income housing credit is also expanded in an effort to kick off the building of affordable homes. The biggest winner, though, are border control and defense. The defense sector will see a $150 billion increase in spending, and the bill pours around $100 billion into immigration control and enforcement, as well as even more money for immigration detention centers and border operations. Now, all that money spent on defense, border control, and tax giveaways brought the US deficit into focus throughout the debate. According to the Congressional Budget Office, the bill will add over $3 trillion to the US's already spiraling deficit. And that put Trump's former head of Doge, Elon Musk, on the rampage. As the bill was being debated, Musk posted this. It is obvious with the insane spending of this bill, which increases the debt ceiling by a record $5 trillion, that we live in a one-party country, the Porky Pig Party. Time for a new political party that actually cares about the people. How can you call yourself the Freedom Caucus if you vote for a debt slavery bill with the biggest debt ceiling increase in history? Musk followed that up with what appeared to be a threat, saying this. Every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their head in shame, and they will lose their primary next year if it is the last thing I do on this earth. Now, look, it's not completely clear that Musk really cares that much about the American people. He might be a little bit more upset by the fact that the big, beautiful bill removes a tax break for people who want to buy electric vehicles, a move that will directly affect the bottom line of Musk's company, Tesla. Speaking to journalists ahead of a trip to a new immigration detention center in Florida, Trump was asked if he planned to deport Musk for his insolence. This was his answer.
I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car.
That didn't sound like a no on the deportation question. Now, I said there that Trump was on his way to a new immigration facility in Florida. Given the amount of money the president's new bill gives to border control, it was perhaps a fitting place in a pretty dystopian kind of way to go to for Trump to celebrate the bill's passing. Nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz, the new facility in Florida's Everglades is designed to house up to 5,000 people in bunk beds squeezed into cells constructed from fencing. And the location of the center has drawn criticism from rights groups for its high temperatures and humidity. It's also surrounded by swampland, containing alligators, Burmese pythons, and swarms of mosquitoes. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say to that. Before departing for Florida, Trump told reporters this.
Snakes are fast, but alligators are big. We're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison. How to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%. Okay? Not a good thing.
So employing Everglades wildlife to hunt down and eat escaping immigrants who just want to get out of a boiling hot center and not be deported from the country they've lived in for a very long time. Very humane. Speaking at a press conference in Florida later, Trump's Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, gave this account of the administration's immigration efforts.
We are going after murderers and rapists and traffickers and drug dealers and getting them off the streets and getting them out of this country because Joe Biden let the worst of the worst come in here. The other day I was talking to some marshals that have been partnering with ICE. They said that they had detained a cannibal and put him on a plane to take him home. And while they had him in his seat, he started to eat himself. And they had to get him off and get him medical attention. These are the kind of deranged individuals that are on our streets in America that we're trying to target and get out of our country.
I mean, that just sounded like a case of, if it's true, profound mental illness. But during a tour of the facility, No made it clear that it wasn't just self-eating cannibals the administration was after.
But listen, people don't have to come here. If they self-deport and go home, they can come back legally. We will let them come back legally.
And there is a lot of self-deportation.
Yes, but if you wait and we bring you to this facility, you don't ever get to come back to America. You don't get the chance to come back and be an American again and work here. So.
Like, you can't on the one hand say that what we're doing is hunting down criminals, deranged people, the worst of the worst, and not ordinary immigrants. And at the same time say, well, look, if you don't want to come here to this horrendous, dystopian, vile, overheated, surrounded by swamps immigration center where you're crammed into a fenced unit with I don't know how many other people, then you should opt to self-deport. Those two things just don't, this is not the same message at all. Curtis, look, the immigration trip was clearly, what looks to me like a bid to please Trump's MAGA supporters, while the big, beautiful bill contains really hardly anything for America's working class, but does contain huge tax breaks for the wealthy and for corporations. How do you think Trump's going to square the circle of satisfying both those rich Republican donors and the corporations that they own and his MAGA base that he needs to vote in his Republicans in the midterms?
I don't think he has to, and you're welcome to disagree, but I don't think he has to. And the reason why I say that is because let's be completely honest here. MAGA is a cult. It is a cult. I mean, we only need to look back to what happened with Iran. We had MAGA, people like Charlie Kirk saying that, this is going to be a peaceful president. The way the GOP campaigned for Donald Trump and JD Vance was, this is going to be a peaceful government. Don't vote for Kamala Harris. It's going to be endless wars and peace with Trump. Well, what happened? Did those same people call out Trump? Did Charlie Kirk say, this is a disgrace, you've betrayed MAGA? Nope, he was right on that gravy train. So it is essentially Trump can do what the hell he wants, and I don't think there's going to be much pushback. Aside from that, though, he has obviously tried to court both sides, because obviously when it comes to the big, beautiful bill, as he says, it is a classic Republican piece of legislation. It's tax cuts for the wealthy. It's kicking millions of people off medical care, and of course, disincentivizing green technology. Of course, Elon Musk has Tesla. He was very, very unhappy about the reversal of the tax cuts, or removing the tax cuts to purchasing EV vehicles, which of course, Trump is backed by the oil company. He is, he represents those interests. So of course, he doesn't want anyone buying electric vehicles. For Musk, of course, he cares about his own profits. So that's where that sort of fallout came from. But what's interesting, if you look in the details of the bill, 2.5% of lower income people, 2.5%, excuse me, I'll start that again. Those on lower income are going to lose 2.5% of their wealth, whereas for higher earners, they can increase their wealth by 2.4%. So essentially, this is a transfer of wealth from lower income people to middle class, or rather to the wealthy. There's nothing really, I don't think there's a big delineation from Trumpism and the Republican Party. I think he is literally just the Republicans emboldened. That is a classic piece of legislation, of course, where they do want to spend money. And by the way, you have Republicans talk about debts and we need to stop spending. They're not actually for a small state, right? Despite some of the libertarian wing shouting from the sidelines, they're not for a small state. They like putting lots and lots of money into the government on migration or detention centers, on ICE. So what you have here is domestically terrible policies for ordinary people, for working class people, tax cuts for the wealthy, and of course, massive amounts of investment on border security, whilst also doing this trip to signal to MAGA that he's still very much on this kind of, let's call it what it is, pretty fascist kind of politics. But yeah, I just want to point out that I don't think there's going to be much of an issue in terms of Trump. I mean, so many time and time again, we see Trump do something that isn't really what MAGA wanted, and they don't say anything about it because, again, it's a cult. They're on that gravy train and they support Trump.